stand and be recognized.
Sometimes fans cheer for those who wear a different uniform. No matter where or when you served, T-Mobile stands ready to serve you. That's why we're providing half-off family lines to all military.
Some believe if it's not German, it's not luxury performance. So we brought these Infiniti SUVs to Germany with American families to drive them.
This truck is only for German luxury auto, not for family or SUV.
VC Turbo. It's like 2 engines in one.
How did Germany not do that first? Keine Kinder auf der Strecke.
The Infiniti family of SUVs. There's nothing traditional about it. Lease the Infiniti QX50 for $399 a month at the Start Your Own Legacy summer sales event. Infiniti. Empower the drive.
New York is paying me, Fenway Park, a visit. It's like a clash for the AL East between superheroes. So Bronx Bombers, Mookie, JD, and I say, bring it. Yankees Red Sox next Sunday at 8 on ESPN.
Back here, Baseball Tonight, Sunday Night Countdown. Cubs and Cardinals currently in a rain delay. We'll start with the Yankees. They're chasing the Red Sox. This will help them. Not Aaron Judge, but Aaron Hicks hitting the cleanup spot. Ding-dong off the foul pole.
And I think the Yankees will try to go find a position player to fill in for Judge, but it's not going to be a major piece from what I can tell. Just somebody else, possibly.
Get ourselves some defense. Romine, the backup catcher, almost went yard. That didn't work. Good catch out there in right field.
Nice snag. The young buck playing the wall the right way.
Jay Happ, now a member of the Yankees, and this looked good. This is kind of what you'd expect from Happ, though, I think.
Right, they got him because of his numbers are so good against the Red Sox, but today he pitched really well against the Royals. 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 run. He's going to really help them down the stretch. There's no way around that.
Give him innings for sure, and effective innings today. Boston's got a new starter. We'll get to Nathan Eovaldi. He was on the mound today. In a moment, J.D. Martinez doing what he does, just riding runs in.
As a catcher, what do you do when he's this good and this high?
Well, there's nothing to do when the bases loaded. You can't walk him. I mean, you got to pitch to him. He's so smart. And you talk to Alex Cora, he's making everybody better. He's been a huge help to Mookie Betts and just really fit in nicely, really replacing a solid space in that DH.
Ball must look huge to J.D. Martinez.
It might. It never looked that way to me. I know that. He can flat out hit. Been doing it for a long time now.
All right, so what did you see from Nathan Eovaldi today?
Well, just again, that fastball, electric fastball. He's got the slider working. First time in a Red Sox uniform, taking the mound. He's got to be nervous here. Front door cutter, you see. There's nothing you can do with that as a right-handed hitter when they got that going.
High velocity up in the strike zone works awfully well these days, and that's one of his signatures. And how about this catch by Jackie Bradley Jr.?
Unbelievable play with Andrew Benintendi going to basically grab the ball off the wall and it ricochets back towards the infield, and Bradley makes sure that doesn't happen, running 82 feet to get it, and there's no give there. That's a real hard wall. It's not brick, but it's hard.
No care for his body, throwing his body around out there. Amazing catch by Jackie Bradley.
And the Red Sox are 41 games over 500. J.D. Martinez is 1 in every category at home this season. He is not really just beating up the monster out there. I mean, most of his balls, when he's going well, will go to right center field, but his slugging, homers, and RBIs all first on the Red Sox this season. So, Boston wins, Yankees win. What about the Cleveland Indians? They're sitting there at 56 and 47. That's 13 games behind Boston in the loss column when the day began. And this was good Corey Kluber today.
All right, the last 4 starts have not been good Corey Kluber. This was very encouraging. And Rossi, this stuff is a joke.
It's a joke. When he's got that, I mean, you see right there the changeup. He rarely throws that, only to lefties. He got the glove side fastball, 2-seamer, and slider working. He's pretty much untouchable.
Good job of hitting here by Francisco Lindor. Took the outside pitch the other way. And that will place Kipnis. And just like that, Tribe got a 2-run lead at 3-1.
Let's not forget the Indians really added to their bullpen, and when you got Corey Kluber at his best like he was today, and you strengthen a bullpen that really needed help, again, Rossi, I don't know how anyone ever gets a hit off of this guy.
I don't know, and they're so poised to win their division and be lined up for that playoff spot. Got an easy road, probably the easiest road to the World Series of anybody.
Here's evidence Edwin put his head down and ran because he didn't see the ball go over the wall.
Throw the parrot up. There it is. There it is. Get that arm up.
Land the plane. Indians 8, Tigers 1. 3 top teams in the American League of the 4 all win. What about the Astros, who are struggling here recently? Yuli Gurriel starts at second as Altuve goes on the DL for the first time in his career.
It's a tricky time right now for the Astros. No Correa, no Altuve, injuries here and there. Haven't been playing very well the last week for obvious reasons. And they ran into the Rangers, who had a pretty good weekend.
Give you a little numbers for perspective on the Astros, as that one goes off the wall and Springer plays it in. So, since last Sunday, when we last addressed this as a group, the Astros 1-5. Their ERA is 6.75, and they're scoring about 3.8 runs a game. This is a team that averages 5 runs a game. They made this one close, but they were still going to end up on the losing end of this thing.
Right, the Rangers won this game, a 9-inning game with 19 strikeouts. The A's did that in 1997. That was the last team to win a 9-inning game, striking out 19 times.
First time the Astros have been swept all year.
1-5 in their last 6. Anybody noticed how good the Oakland A's have been playing? Their offense, 203 runs scored in the 7th inning or later, which is best in baseball. They score a lot of runs before the 7th inning, too.
They also lead Major League Baseball in one-run wins. These guys know how to win. They know how to come back late. This lineup never stops fighting. It's a fun team to watch and continue to come back every time I watch them on TV.
Does anyone notice how good the Colorado Rockies have been for the last month and how well they have pitched? They have the second best ERA in the major leagues in the month of July. Only the Dodgers are better than the Rockies.
All right, so Colorado, good win for them. Need it in the National League West. And Oakland, who is knocking on Seattle's door, wouldn't get any help today. This was not a good outing for Pena, the Angel starter. All of the action you were about to see happened in the first inning. So if you're the LA crowd...
has done a great job of accumulating talent. I mean, you think about this. You're saying, and you're probably right, that they may be the favorite in the Final Four. Well, they're without guys. This is with a fairly skeleton crew for what they were supposed to have. What a job by these guys.
Sloan played 2 years in the NBA, right?
Yeah, he was good with the Pacers.
If he's overplaying. If he's not, Dave Space has got to help. But this is a big screen. Bang, bang. You guys got this?
So it'll be Randall or Eldridge for the win.
I know. He's coming off his bang, bang.
One thing about this team, you can't get that much done in 6 seconds. First and foremost, you got to get the ball bounced. Get the ball in the bounce so a guy can make a play. I would think they're going to deny Randall the ball. Obviously, Ron is their best bowler. It's going to be a quick zipper screen to a ball screen. Watch Randall coming off Evans' screen, and then they're just going to step up and ball screen. There it is right there.
Looking for Wilridge in the corner. Randall taking himself off the window for the game winner. And Everline Drive, once the worst team in TBT, is headed to the national semifinal for the first time. Pretty cool. Pretty cool, the job those guys have done. It really, I think, embodies everything this tournament is about, those guys. I do.
You know what? In the end, it's about acquiring talent. Good teams acquire talent. That's a talented team. They played well. They played unselfish. They had the best point guard in the game, and they had size. Game winner right there. A little shake, a little floater, because you know what little guards need?
Need to be able to make layups, big boy. If you can't make layups of different angles and heights, then you can't be a point guard at a really high level. That kid is a point guard as good as there is not playing in the NBA.
5 assists a game last year playing in Germany, former Pac-10 Player of the Year. And Jerome Randall leads Everline Drive to a trip to Baltimore in the national semifinal, thanks to a 29-point effort. 12 of those points coming from the free throw line. That's a dude who's getting it done, and Everline Drive has extended its bracket run, and they're going to Baltimore.
Well, I tell you what, this team is good. This team is long. This team is athletic, obviously experienced with some pros, well coached. I think that Everline Drive against Team Fredette,
It's going to be fun because Jordan Crawford and Jerome Randall going at each other, two little guys, and then you've got Taylor Braun can guard Jimmy Fredette, and we'll see if he can guard Jimmy Fredette. Tell you what, next weekend is going to be an absolute blast.
Thursday night semifinal, Everline Drive will be there, Jerome Randall will be there, Jen Hale will be there, and she's standing by with the star of the game.
Indeed. Congratulations. You have got to be one exhausted man. How did you survive the run that Team Challenge ALS went on at the end? They whittled down a 22-point lead.
We knew they was going to come back. I mean, like I said before, I know a lot of those guys, and they had unbelievable careers. And we knew they was going to fight back, but we just had to stick with it. And it was a challenge, man. My head goes off to those guys.
Taylor Braun's defense is something special. He was all over them.
Yeah, he was. Just coming out, having the will to win, having the will to compete. That's what, this term is about, just coming out to compete. And I thought we did a great job with that.
And for you, how did you put up 27 points? It was a supreme offensive effort.
I always been a guy that can score, man. just being small, you have to be a little crafty. You have to come out, and just have heart. And, it don't matter about your height, as long as you can come out and compete. And I feel like I compete with the best.
Yes, you do. We will see you in Baltimore. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Tom.
Yeah, he doesn't let it stop him. I mean, some guys are better when they play with a chip on their shoulder, and that's obviously Jerome Randall's deal. So here's what the semis look like Thursday night, 7 o'clock on ESPN. Overseas Elite. They've never lost in this event. They got the Golden Eagles squad from Marquette. Those dudes can shoot it from behind the arc. And Team Fredette got a big game from Jimmer, but not necessarily behind the arc. He a little bit of everything for him today. And they'll match up with Everline Drive. So a 1 seed, a 3 seed, a 2 seed, and a 7 seed. As Everline Drive knocked off one of the ones today. We saw 2 number 1 seeds go down here tonight, starting with Scarlet and Gray, and now Team Challenge ALS. So what have we learned? What do you need? What's the recipe for success in this thing?
It's interesting. Each team really has a different recipe. The Golden Eagles of Marquette made 23s today. There's your recipe. Overseas Elite is a team that can play any way you want to play. How you want to play, they'll play it. Jimmy Fredette is not a one-man team. They have a bunch of guys that can go get it done. Same with Everline Drive, long and athletic. 4 distinctly different teams playing for $2 million. And if you don't think these guys are thrilled, you're crazy, because this means a ton to all of these guys.
Everline Drive able to overcome the last-minute defection of James Michael McAdoo. He said he will rejoin them in Baltimore. They will be there with a loaded team. Semifinals starting Thursday night on ESPN. What a weekend of basketball, and what a couple days of basketball still to come in Charm City. 72 teams started it, the single elimination tournament with $2 million on the line to the winners. So for Seth Greenberg and Dan Dockich, along with Jen Hale, I'm Tom Hart. What a day of basketball the entire weekend here in Atlanta. Everline Drive joins 3 others, Golden Eagles, Overseas Elite, and Team Fredette in Baltimore in the semifinals. So long from the A.
You shouldn't be rushed into booking a hotel. With Expedia's add-on advantage, booking a...
But is his problem that if he does push too hard, he's in danger of doing the same thing himself on those soft tyres, and he's in danger of getting too close to Valtteri Bottas and upsetting an awful lot of the car in the turbulent air?
Could be, but given he's on the different strategy, why not let Raikkonen have a go at catching Bottas then and destabilising Mercedes-Benz? So they're playing the waiting game at the moment, but they need to put pressure on Mercedes, and if Raikkonen's got more pace on the Ultras, let him through and let him have a go.
Yeah, they're kind of wasting that pace as it stands at the moment. Down to you.
I tend to agree with you, but bear in mind, of course, that Vettel's performance will come at the end of the race when he puts the ultra soft tyre on. Now, the crucial thing is when he does that. When do Ferrari think they can get to the end of the race with, 30 laps to go? 35? Pirelli say that this purple ultra soft tyre will only do 30 laps. So inevitably, Vettel's got to take it to lap 35, 40, something like that, the soft tyre.
Or maybe he is listening to us this afternoon, because Sebastian Vettel's just put his fastest lap of the race in, just to reduce that gap to Valtteri Bottas by a couple of tenths of a second. But meanwhile, Daniel Ricciardo is doing plenty of overtaking this afternoon, and Nico Hulkenberg is the latest to see the Red Bull breeze past him. So he's got past Van Dorn, and he's got past Alonso, and he's got past Grosjean, and now Hulkenberg as well as he's up to 9th.
putting on board there, my driver's brain just said, we're going off. There's no way this is going to make the corner. And he made the corner fine. He certainly likes to get the car on the nose, doesn't he, Ricciardo? And just, it's as much about how you take your foot off the brake as put it on.
The car is very surface already. Man, this is borderline. If I don't open, it's a crash. Understood, man. We're still in a good situation, okay? Still in a good situation.
So how did the team say we're in a good situation, Martin, when the driver himself feels that there might be a crash coming because he's not got the grip he wants out there?
He said if we don't open, it's going to be a crash. Is that what he said?
Something like that. If
we open? If we differential a little bit, what can we open? Maybe I misheard that.
Either way, he's not in a good place, and the team's saying, no, it's okay.
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah, the engineer's happy enough up on the pit wall.
Valtteri Bottas has responded to Sebastian Vettel's increase in pace, and he's now set his fastest lap of the race. Neither of them lapping quicker, though, than the race leader at the moment. And Brendan Hartley is now looking in his rear mirrors. There's late Martin, and there's fashionably late, and there's Daniel Ricciardo late. And once again, he's late enough to arrive on the scene at just the right time.
Their leading scorer with 8 goals this year.
Riley's opposite number, Reynald Pedro, former French international, has taken over Lyon in 2017. Here's his 11 for tonight.
And for a lot of fans out there, they're going to see some familiar names with the French team. Les Sommer, of course, up front. Henry, who played in the United States. A lot of talent. Reynard on that team. And an English player in right back, Lucy Bronze. And this is a team, as Sebastian, you mentioned.
Leading off and pitching and the walk-off, phenomenal week.
That's a pretty big deep dive for you to go to the Cubs.
Hey, it was one I was watching, so it stood out to me. I know it's not just earth-shattering news for me, but I came up out of my seat at home, and that means a lot to me.
Right.
So.
Well, Rizzo means a lot to you, though, too.
Yeah, he's a buddy of mine, so it's just the first thing I thought of when we asked.
So for me, it was Kike Hernandez, who became the first pure position player to give up a walk-off homer in the history of baseball. And in that game, of course, he also went 0 for 7. So I went looking for pitchers who went 0 for 7 and lost the game. Cy Young went 0 for 8 in a 20-inning game. He pitched the entire game, of course, in 1905. But there's a bigger point to be made here, is that what in the world is Kike Hernandez doing pitching in a game that really matters? And this is the issue, if that's the right term, that we have in the big leagues today. It used to be really cool and cute when a position player would pitch, but now we have 2 position players on contending teams that have lost games, Jeff Mathis and now Kike Hernandez, in the last month. And I understand why they were pitching. They were out of pitchers, but it speaks again.
This dude threw 175 complete games. I mean, just think of the conversation we just had. Nobody throws complete games. He threw 175. As you said earlier, he started 14 consecutive opening days. Alan Trammell also gets in. Let's listen to some Hall of Famers.
Antes no hablaba mucho. Decía que el bate era que hablaba por mí. Pero ahora tengo que hablar ya que no estoy jugando.
When I was a player, I always mentioned that I wanted my bat to do the talking. But now that I'm not playing, I'm very happy to be standing here and talking to you.
It's an honor being up here with the other great shortstops of the game, wink, wink. When I was a struggling shortstop in the Cincinnati organization 3 decades ago, I could have never imagined being here today. My transformation from an infielder to a relief pitcher to a closer, it's been an amazing journey capped by this amazing moment.
To go into the Hall of Fame with my friend and teammate Alan Trammell is a dream come true. We signed together in 1976, spent 13 years together in Detroit, and now 42 years later, Cooperstown. Wow.
Wow. To every kid that is dreaming of standing here one day, take it one moment at a time. Don't sail too high or sink too low. Learn to be good at handling failure. And above all, treat people with respect.
I know none of us would have had the privilege of playing this game or receiving these accolades without people in the stands believing in us. For me, that's Braves country. You're the reason I never wanted to play anywhere else. I couldn't be prouder to go into the Hall of Fame today with an Atlanta A on my cap. I love you guys.
Well, there were players that you associate with organizations. I mean, I know you know Chipper. There was nobody who exemplified Braves, and that brave country thing is true to the core when you're talking about Chipper Jones.
What you see, he gives that. That's what he gave after he hit the home run, was the "I love you" sign. Gave it to the Braves fans there. Just so happy for him and Hoffy. When you start getting your teammates going into the Hall of Fame, it's pretty cool to watch their speeches and just super excited. And you know, all the hoopla that goes around with it, along with it, and texting them and stuff. You talking back and forth. Just really cool moment for me today to see guys. Remember being back there behind Jim Thome and throwing sinkers down and away and him hitting them to the moon to left center. I mean, just fun stories for me that replay in my head when I see these guys.
Years after Chipper's debut, I asked Bobby Cox, his manager, I said, when was the first time you knew Chipper was going to be a great player? And he looked at me and said, oh, the first time I saw him. I said, what? He goes, oh, that face. You know right away from that face. That's a great face. I said, what? You can tell by his face? He goes, yeah. Veteran baseball guys can tell by a face. And he looked at me and he goes, Chipper,
that's a face.
Great face. And now he's in the Hall of Fame.
Jim Thome became obsessed with this weird Baseball Tonight hat that we used to have years and years ago. He came to our studio with his wife and looked around and said, can anybody get me some of those hats, the Baseball Tonight hats? This was early in his career. So for years, and what do you have, 600, how many home runs did he end up hitting?
612.
I think 610 of those, we would do the highlights on Baseball Tonight, and we would declare the home run. It would be hats off to Jim Thome as a tribute to him and his desire to have hats.
And then, of course, there's Jack Morris, who pitched the 10-inning, 1-0 game in Game 7 in 1991. I did the sidebar after that game for Sports Illustrated. And Tom Kelly came to the mound to talk to Jack Morris in the 10th inning. And Randy Bush, one of the Twins, told me after the game, if he tried to take Jack out, it would have been the first time in history that a manager has ever been killed on the mound. Jack would have killed him. He was not coming out of the game. So the numbers don't always line up with Jack Morris, but that moment...
Didn't he go to the mound during the game and then after the 9th inning, go back to him on the bench and say, you know, I got to take you out? And he looked at him and said, I will strangle you.
I'm not coming...
That's not happening.
I can see that happening. Trevor Hoffman showed me a splitty one time. He holds it in a Vulcan, like a lot of guys. He splits these two fingers, and I used to ask him, where do you want me set up with that? He was like, oh, it don't matter. I'm going to bounce it right on top of the plate, so don't worry about it. They're going to swing over it. I'm like, all right, I'll just get ready to block it. Thanks for the info.
And among the many activities that Trevor used to stay in shape, he became a surfer. I mean, he was a renowned surfer to stay in shape, and all those saves that he amassed came from most of that. I mean, he's throwing a changeup. Shortstops don't throw changeups. They throw fastballs from short to first. He ended up throwing the greatest changeup ever.
Right. And as for Jim Thome, he snuck into the Cubs dugout when he was 9 years old. And it's like 2 minutes before the game's going to start. Who knows how he got in there? He goes up to Dave Kingman, his home run hero, and basically says, I'm going to hit a lot of home runs someday in the big leagues like you do. And Kingman hit 442, and Jim Thome hit 612.
Right. And talk about how long Trammell and Morris have known each other. 42 years. They signed together in 76. People think in 76, like 1776, how long ago did this happen?
Well, until you play and you realize the guys you got drafted with and the many teammates you've seen over your career, and for two guys to kind of play that long together, get drafted, play on you, and know each other, and go in the Hall of Fame, that was my favorite story of the year.
I love that story. And by the way, Jack Morris, for all of his bravado, cried several times during his speech. He cried when in the final year of his eligibility to get in, and was so appreciative of the writers, believe it or not, and all these other fans and teammates that got him to this point. That's a pretty important day for these guys.
Right, and when Alan Trammell played, there was an expression in the American League for anyone who threw the ball really well. They called it Alan Trammell carry, because the ball always kept its line. It always hit the first baseman right in the chest. That's how good a thrower and how reliable he was.
Rivero's got to get in. He's a first-timer. Anyone else a first-timer on this list? Or is there enough for Edgar and Mussina to get in next year?
I think there's definitely going to be enough for Edgar Martinez, and I think Mike Mussina is going to get in next year. If he doesn't, he'll get in the year after that, and I repeat, I have no idea why it's taken him this long.
Roy Halladay got a chance?
Roy Halladay has a chance to get in next year, but my guess is he won't make it next year, but he'll make it soon after.
Oh, make it next year?
I don't think
he'll. I don't think he will because there's a reluctance for first timers.
Right.
If Hoffman's in, he has to be in.
I just think about
no. Halliday is not going to get in next year. Rivera will get 97% of the vote.
He's in.
Shouldn't say that,
but he's
getting in easily next year.
Good. He should. Makes sense. All right, that's next year. That's this year, and we got a game coming up at about 25 minutes after the hour. First pitch. What a thing! What a thing! Gary Sanchez, not so good. That led to a trip to the DL.
He's hurt, but he's got to run harder than that, or else he shouldn't be playing.
And then the next day, also Romine get the Heart and Hustle Award. It I hate to bag on Gary Sanchez, but that was a tough night for him.
Wasn't a good moment. That's a fair ball. Okay, Turner.
He's so mad.
We all understand, but one thing you have to do is you have to run as hard as you can.
This is a tire blowout of the epic kind. Max Sniper just went down, and then he threw it. Then he spiked it. I thought we were going to see visions of Manny and Johnny Damon.
And his parents were ballerinas. Didn't look very good on his feet there.
I love this play here. Steve Pearce on the ground. Xander Bogaerts gives a great throw, and he just lays down as he's on the ground.
Watch him duck his head.
Look out. Watch your lips.
What a thing.
What a thing in 3, 2, 1.
There is a fire alarm going off. You talk about the worst time for this to happen.
That occurred in the middle of a no-hitter. That is the worst time. This is the greatest that we've seen. Sam Ravitch tweeting this out. We're telling the pitcher, you're coming out of this game because you're going to the major leagues.
And that's Dakota Hudson, who went to the big leagues and threw a scoreless inning, his first inning. Pretty cool.
How great is that?
That's awesome.
I mean, how great. That's always one of the great stories. You've written books. Well, a book can be written about the call to the major leagues that you get. That is how Dakota was told, can I have the ball? Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. Where are you going? Yeah, you're going to the big leagues.
What are you doing? Take me out.
How good is that?
Skip, I'm dealing right now. Right? Take me out. Oh, yeah, they need you at the big show.
And how about our Eduardo Perez when they told him you're going to the big leagues? And he said, why? And then he called his dad and said, Dad, I'm going to the big leagues. Does Dad go, why are you going?
Why are you going? Exactly. You remember
my first time I was in AAA, obviously, and we called a team meeting during stretch, and our manager came out and just was kind of doing a little pregame thing. He just said, hey, guys, just want to let you guys know David's going to the major leagues. And I was like, who's David? David. And, man, I went and I ran in and called my parents, and I cried like a baby. It was, it was just one of those, I never really pictured myself there in that moment, going to the major leagues and think it was a thing. And I'll never forget thinking as I made that phone call, that can never be taken away from me. No matter what, I can say I've been to the major leagues. Really cool moment for me.
And 20 years later, he got a standing ovation at Chicago Cut during the World Series. Amazing story.
And now I'm set with Tim Kirshner and Carl Ravitch. Where's my life gone?
22 years later, he was wearing those fake abs on Dancing with the Stars. Who would have thought?
Those weren't real?
That's where we would have ended up. He's a big deal, David Ross. All right, that's the story of the Baseball Hall of Fame. Happen next year. Rossi talks about getting the call to the big leagues, and of course you were just a kid when that happened. Well, when you're a kid, you make a lot of mistakes, you do a lot of dumb things. That resurfaced again today after the Dodgers and Braves played their game. It involved their starting pitcher, Sean Newcomb. We'll get to the total story in a minute because he pitched a really good game on the field. He got support early from Nick Markakis, who rode a ball out. And then Newcomb went to work, and this dude took a no-hitter into the 9th inning, and he had 2 outs before he gave up the hit.
Had that 94-mile-an-hour fastball up in the zone working. He's got a little slight cut to it. You see there the slider, the slow breaking ball. He had it all going on today.
He was great. We'll go to the 8th inning. He is now towards 100-plus pitches, 115. Needs to get Yasiel Puig. We'll go to the 9th inning. He hasn't given up a hit. He's still throwing with the same velocity, 93 miles an hour up. We get 2 outs in the 9th inning. He's 1 out away from a no-hitter. And Chris Taylor comes up, and he hits it hard. And that pitch was high.
134th pitch. It's got a little too elevated, a little too much of the plate, and there goes the no-hitter.
So Newcomb, who figures I'm going to walk off the field, this was probably the greatest game I've ever pitched, then gets confronted by A number of tweets of his that were sent out back when he was 18 years old, 2011, 2012. He's now 25, but they were racially insensitive. They were gay slurs involved with those. Sean Newcomb then had to face the media and face the music for an issue that he created. He said, this is something obviously can't be happening. I feel bad about it. Don't mean to offend anybody. Didn't mean to offend anybody, and I'll make sure it doesn't happen again. The Atlanta Braves, of course, then had to get involved. They issued their own statement saying we found the tweets hurtful and incredibly disappointing. And even though he was 18 or 19 years old when posted, it doesn't make them any less tolerable. We'll work together with Sean towards mending the wounds created in our community. And again, the lesson is very simple. You don't do these types of things no matter how old you are. We saw it with Josh Hader at the All-Star game, and now you see it with Sean Newcomb here today.
Right, and a good start would be, say, for him to go back to his high school, explain to everyone that he made a terrible mistake, and don't do what I did because it's going to lead to all sorts of trouble for him.
And again, you can't undo it. Now the question is, do you become very transparent with your organization and say, just a heads up, this could come back and haunt us?
I think transparency is always the key to your teammates. Address your teammates, address the fans as best you can, the media, and move on.
Hi, boys. Enjoyed the rain delay with both you and Tim. David Ross, Carl Ravitch will send it to Matt Vasgersian for tonight's game.
Thanks.
And after a rain delay of what will amount to about an hour and 25 minutes, Sunday Night Baseball presented by Taco Bell is ready to present the Cubs and the Cardinals in this series finale from Busch. Let's get you right to the Cubs starting lineup, brought to you by Taco Bell.
And featuring Javier Baez, the human highlight film. He's been outstanding as of late, hitting in 8 of his last 10, homering the last 2 nights, Friday and last night here at the stadium.
On the mound for the Cardinals in this series finale, 25-year-old right-hander John Gant, who will make just his 8th start of the year. Take a look at the numbers there as a starter. 1-3, a 3.76 ERA, opposing batting average of under 200 overall, 3 wins and 3 losses on the year. Gant worked an inning in relief last week. His last start, however, came back on Saturday, July 21st against the same uniform at Wrigley Field. Faced the Cubs that night, went 5 shutout innings and scattered 4 hits, part of a 6-3 Cardinal win for which Gant did not get a decision. So after the rain and after some of the hand-wringing involved in waiting it out, we are ready for baseball. Field looks to be in really good shape when you consider the tarp was on the field for much of the afternoon. Neither team took batting practice. And finally, we are underway in St. Louis. Anthony Rizzo, Ben Zobrist, and Jason Hayward lead things off for Chicago to restate the Cubs trying to avoid being swept by the Cardinals for the 2nd time this year. St. Louis taking each of the first 2 games of the series Friday and Saturday here at home, and a strike to Rizzo to make it 1-1. Alex, you made the point earlier before the rain delay that the home team has had a decided advantage in this season series. Cardinals have taken 6 out of 8 against the Cubs here on their turf.
It's been home cooking for both teams, and the Cardinals continue that this weekend with playing much better baseball, not only at home, but under the leadership of new manager Mike Shildt.
2 balls and a strike to count to Chicago leadoff hitter Anthony Rizzo. So 2-2 now.
John Gant pitched against these Cubs just last week. And something I noticed against this Cubs team is John Gant is primarily a fastball changeup pitcher. That's his go-to pitch, especially secondary pitch, is a changeup. Against the Cubs last week, he went with his curveball a lot more than that changeup.
Rizzo with a drive out to right field for Dexter Fowler. Well, about the Chicago Cubs, they have dropped 4 of their last 6, 5 and 6 since the All-Star break, and a team that's been baseball's best in the second half under Joe Maddon has gotten this particular post-All-Star break off to a rockier start. They were active on the trade wire, acquiring former World Series MVP Cole Hamels in a deal with the Rangers on Friday. Chris Bryant remains on the DL with a shoulder injury. And And Javi Baez, who we will see perhaps in the first inning, scheduled to bat fourth, has been a terrific run producer for the Chicago Cubs all year long. There's Chris on the mend. And as you heard Buster only report and speculate earlier, when he returns to full health, it will require some managing in terms of his contributions. As Ben Zobrist takes a big swing and gets the Cubs on the board first in St. Louis tonight.
Ben Zobrist, such a contact approach, but when he gets the right pitch, especially in the right count, he's got the pop. And from John Gant, this is 93 miles an hour right down the pipe. Zobrist, known for getting himself into the counts that he can drive the ball. Big leg kick, able to lay on 93 right down the middle.
I will be willing to answer anything.
Number 7 on the year for Ben Zobrist starts the scoring for the visitors tonight. A run in with one away, and now Jason Hayward.
Ben Zobrist, a winning player, an underrated player, and of course, with the big hit, his signature moment of his career in the 2016 World Series, the double down the left field line.
Jason Hayward rolls over a ground ball to first. Matt Carpenter is there tonight, gets it to Gant, covering for out number 2. Well, Alex, you mentioned interim manager Mike Shildt, who is in the midst of his first full homestand as Cardinal manager. 6-5 since he took over just before the All-Star break. He has overseen a real bullpen overhaul. Greg Holland and Tyler Lyons DFA'd during the week. Sam Tuivailala sent to Seattle. Matt Carpenter has been a one-man band as far as the offense is concerned, and this part of it hasn't changed. 84 errors is, unfortunately for the Cardinals, the high total in baseball. Javi Baez will be a one-pitch casualty, not before little damage is done. Ben Zobrist's home run starts the scoring after the rain in St. Louis tonight, early, and it's 1-0 Cubs.
Some believe if it's not German, it's not luxury performance. So we brought these Infiniti SUVs to Germany with American families to drive them.
This truck is only for German luxury auto, not for family or SUV.
VC Turbo. It's like 2 engines in one. How did Germany not do that first?
The Infiniti family of SUVs. There's nothing traditional about it. Lease the Infiniti QX50 for $399 a month at the Start Your Own Legacy summer sales event. Infiniti. Empower the drive.
Insurance that won't replace the full value of your new car? You're better off throwing your money right into the harbor.
Gonna regret that. With Liberty Mutual new car replacement, we'll replace the full value of your car.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Oh, baby, don't be still. I gotta move, don't take away the thrill. Keep it rolling along. Just keep moving and you can't go wrong. Hey, now do you hear what I say? I'll be on my way.
Tap or click with your MasterCard. It only takes a moment to start something priceless.
Keep on moving along.
Hello, everyone.
Well, Ben Zobrist has hit a first-inning home run tonight to start the scoring for the visitors. 1-0 Chicago as we get you to St. Louis and their starting lineup tonight presented by Taco Bell.
Matt, one of the moves that Mike Shildt made after the All-Star break was to consistently put Yadier Molina in that 2-hole. Since the All-Star break, he's been on fire. He likes that spot. 417 Mike Shildt made after the All-Star break.
Scott Hendricks on the mound for the Chicago Cubs tonight. 28-year-old right-hander.
Hello, everyone. How you guys doing? You guys can comment in the chat box if you have any questions.
Season high 8 in a 5-1 loss. Carpenter right-hander Molina and DeYoung for St. Louis. The first pitch of the game for Kyle Hendricks missed wide. But if you caught Alex's conversation with Matt Carpenter earlier, we showed it to you during the rain delay. Some of the secrets of Matt's success were revealed. Not all of them have to do with the batting cage and putting on a pair of cleats as he pops out to start the first. Been a lot of talk around here, Alex, about the secret salsa. I don't think that particular menu item has had as much momentum here in St. Louis ever. I think it surpassed the toasted ravioli as the menu item du jour.
Well, man, it for good reason. Not only does it smell good, but it tastes good. And one recommendation that I had, one request was, hey, can I take some home with me after the game?
What did he say?
I hope it's coming up here.
Okay. There's Yadi Molina now after the first out.
And while we're asking, I'll ask for a T-shirt as well.
It's
The T-shirt was
salsa?
pretty cool. Yeah.
For those that might have missed it, we'll bring back part of that interview later on tonight. Alex visiting with Matt Carpenter earlier today. Yadi Molina with a 1-1 count, batting with 1 out and the base is empty.
You will not believe what he told me this afternoon.
2 balls and a strike. Don't leave us hanging. You got to give us a little taste here.
Well, the taste is coming when the interview comes somewhere in the 3rd or 4th inning. But I was very surprised how humble, how smart, how organized he was. And this guy is the true, I mean, really a...
Molina into left center. Hold that thought as Yadi Molina has an extra base hit here in the bottom of the first.
We talked about it off the top, just how on fire he's been since the All-Star break, and honestly moving up in the order into that 2 spot. But the thing with him that I've seen that stands out is how he's hitting everything. We got 87 almost at the ankles. You see even that depth that Hendricks wants. He wants it a little bit more on the hands, a little middle of the still continuing that. The secret salsa move.
Yeah, there it is.
Keep the salsa coming.
Here's Paul DeYoung now with an RBI opportunity in front of him. DeYoung also faced Hendricks last Thursday at Wrigley Field. Didn't have the kind of success that Yadi Molina did. Molina had 3 of those 4 hits just mentioned against Hendricks. DeYoung was 0 for that night. As far as that line for Kyle, he was unable to finish the 5th that night. First game back after the break. Had a lot of offensive support. Cubs won at 9-6. Hendricks was out of jams more often than not, but he did give up 9 hits in the 4 2/3. We talked with Joe Maddon about his season so far that night. We did it again tonight. Part of the problem, according to Joe, is that Greg Maddux little move on the end of his fastball, that little tail, isn't as sharp as they'd like it. Joe would like to see him incorporate more curveballs early in counts. And too many pitches per plate appearance for Maddon's taste. In other words, the less you see of Kyle Hendricks, the worse off you are as an opponent.
Well, and you see, because he's got the 2nd lowest fastball velocity, he relies a lot on that sink, on that movement. If he doesn't command his fastball and get the run and sink on his 2-seamer, it's going to get hit.
DeYoung into the left field corner and just foul.
There's several things when you think about Kyle Hendricks and why he struggled some this year. Number one, he's been battling his mechanics all year. But the other one is simple fact of repetition. Hitters are beginning to see him. He's in his 4th season now. And as a hitter, whether you're righty or lefty, you go up there with a game plan. And that game plan is simple. Look for the ball up. And anything down, you're going to leave it alone. And that's what you've seen so far in this first half of the season.
1-2 to DeYoung is sent into left field, hit hard, but right at Kyle Schwarber for a loud out number 2.
And Kyle Hendricks, the Dartmouth graduate, he is your traditional 3-pitch pitcher. He has a fastball, he has a curveball, get me over curveball, and a plus changeup. He has 2 types of fastballs. One's a sinker, one's a straight fastball, and then the changeup. One cuts and one sinks. And his goal should be very simple. induce contact, weak contact early in the count.
A 2-out runner at second now for Marcell Ozuna, the two-time All-Star who hit a first-inning grand slam yesterday against Jose Quintana and effectively ended the day early. Ozuna swinging early here with a high drive to left, and Marcell Ozuna has done it again.
And Ozuna, almost a carbon copy of yesterday. A breaking ball again today. And a floater. That's the one he wants to get over for strike one. Right down the middle. Same pitch, same result. Home run, Marcell Ozuna. And when they signed him here with the Cardinals, that's the type of production and damage they were expecting. Where as of late, they've been getting that Ozuna.
His 12th of the year gives the Cardinals a one-run advantage here early, and a strike to Jedd Gyorko. Perhaps the start of something a lot more positive for Marcell Ozuna and his what was thought to be lost power stroke. This, after all, is an all-star player from a year ago who hit a career-best 37 home runs in a ballpark in South Florida, not really conducive to the long ball. On a pace this year for fewer than 20. But certainly a positive sign here this weekend. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Jedd Gyorko.
And one of the biggest things you saw with him earlier in the season was his right shoulder's not allowing him to get that extension. You see his right shoulder here, just a beautiful job of getting into a pitch that's off speed, so having to even provide more backside, more power. And he does, going through the Congo line into the dugout.
And at the end, a little salsa.
So, as you mentioned, Alex, curveball at the shins for a grand slam yesterday by Quintana. Breaking ball, little under the belt for a home run today against Kyle Hendricks. I guess we should just cross that one off if we're the Cubs staff. No more breaking balls down in the zone to Marcell Ozuna.
The Cubs have as finest scouting report department as any in baseball. They call it the Ivy. This comes from Theo Epstein. And if you just follow Marcell Ozuna, one of the things you can't do is throw soft breaking balls or change-ups early in the count for strikes, because they go a long way. What's surprising for a guy like Kyle Hendricks, who's such a great student of the game, with a base open, with the grand slam yesterday, you would think he would not get any strikes.
Well, and to the Cubs' credit, before this weekend, I mean, Marcell Ozuna struggled against non-fastballs. In fact, he's one of the lowest in the bigs against anything that is not a fastball. So the scouting report on him was definitely throw him breaking balls, give him changeups, because that's a pitch that he has not hit up until this weekend, but obviously it's changed.
And Jedd Gyorko continues here in the first with a base hit the other way. And a lot of room to hit with a wide open hole on the right side of the infield, and credit Jedd Gyorko for shortening up and punching a 2-out base hit into right.
I love saying that, Alex. I know you do too. Just we talk about so much the shift and how it's people want to change it because it's hurting the game, hurting the offense. And I get for the big dog hitters like an Anthony Rizzo, you stay with what you know, you pull the ball. But for a Jedd Gyorko, someone that's not always in the lineup, and when you have everybody on the left side to recognize to poke the ball through the right side of the infield, such a big way to be able to get on base and honestly get himself an extra hit.
Here's Tommy Pham now with the 2 runs in and a runner aboard with 2 gone. Pham enjoyed the Thursday a couple of weeks ago against Hendricks with a 2-for-2 home run, a 2-for-2 line rather, that included a home run. And meanwhile, you saw that number a moment ago on Kyle Hendricks, a bit of an alarming trend if you're the Cubs. Not only the first inning home runs against Hendricks, but the first inning damage. He's now allowed 21 runs in 21 2/3 in first innings this year.
And he talked about after his last start, Matt, was the 1-1 count is huge for him. So that last strike he just threw 1-1 is something he has not been able to do. And that's always been his count. I mean, Kyle Hendricks is minimal pitches, soft contact.
And a called strike 3 as he straightens up Tommy Pham to end the inning. Not before a little damage. The 2-run shot by Marcell Ozuna gives the Cardinals an early 2-1 lead.
Is this AT&T Innovations? Yeah, wow. This must be for one of our new unlimited wireless plans. Comes with a ton of entertainment options. Great. Can you sign for this? Yeah. Hey, what's in that one? That's a shark.
New and only with AT&T, you can get unlimited data, 30+ channels of live TV, and your choice of things like HBO or Amazon Music. More for your thing. That's our thing. Visit att.com.
Raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens, bright copper kettles and warm woolen mittens, brown paper packages tied up with strings. These are a few of my favorite things.
I've got a name, I've got a name. Moving ahead so life won't pass me by.
Those who live up to their names make one for themselves. Goodyear, more driven.
Now let's have one more. 2? Make that 2 more plans. Sweetie? Let us help with your plan.
We can do that.
Sounds like a plan.
Start a plan that flexes with yours. New York Life.
Get 4 lines of unlimited data for $100 a month. Plus 4 free smartphones when you switch. Whoops. Unlimited. Yeah. Smile. You're on Cricket.
At Booking.com, we can't guarantee you'll find gold in them there hills on your vacation. But we can guarantee the best price on this rental cabin or any accommodation, from hotels to yurts. Booking.com. Booking.yeah.
Already a couple of home runs tonight. Ben Zobrist, a solo shot for the Cubs, and that man Marcell Ozuna with a 2-run for St. Louis. Back for the top of the second, and Wilson, an all-star for the first time in his career a couple of weeks ago. Behind here 0-2. Going to see plenty of off-speed stuff tonight on both sides of the scorecard.
That last changeup was dirty. There was a Vulcan change. And he's comfortable throwing it to righties as much as he is lefties. But you're going to see it on that right side of the plate.
Ball and 2 strikes to count to Wilson Contreras. Yeah, let's take a further look at that really good pitch, that changeup, and it's a little different. StatCast powered by AWS. StatCast AI inside the Vulcan grip and the unusual changeup of John Gant.
You see just the dominance that he has on that pitch. Opposing batting average of righties .043, which is huge because a lot of times the changeup, and Alex, you know this, is so much more devastating to left-handed batters. As you saw in that last at bat to Contreras, it's just as dirty, if not more dirty, to right-handed batters.
It sure is, and when you throw a fastball that's 94 that rides on you, it really makes that changeup exceptional, and then you mix in the curveball and the slider like you saw there.
Kyle Schwarber now, and he's behind 0-2.
I think one of the biggest things, too, and a difference you will see with Kyle Hendricks and his fastball changeup usage is it's probably at like maybe 5 to 6 mile an hour difference between his fastball and change. For John Gant, it's 13 to 14 miles an hour difference. That's when he gets the big swing and misses.
Good point, Jessica.
Because you think about it, 95 on his fastball, and he'll get his changeup down to 79, 80 miles an hour. And if he can truly tunnel that pitch, meaning make that changeup look like his fastball, and have a 15 to 16 mile an hour difference.
You might have noticed already that the slight hitch in Gant's delivery, not nearly as exaggerated as it was when he was drafted by the Mets out of high school in 2011, or when he made his major league debut a few years later as an Atlanta Brave.
And this is something that had evolved for John Gant. I mean, look at this. Talk about as a hitter, and Alex, you can attest to this. I mean, it's definitely something that you would think would have been illegal, just because it's the sense for a batter. Is he going to throw? Is he not? Well, it turns because of what he was doing with that front foot, that with a rule change that happened a year ago, basically stipulating that a pitcher may not take a second step toward home plate with either foot or otherwise reset that pivot foot. So he had to change. And you see he still kind of has that hitch. Like, he wants that front foot to move. But he said it's helped him. It's helped him stay more back on his backside. It's almost like a leg kick with a hitter. For him as a pitcher to start, restart, he said it would get him out of rhythm. And now he's able to be obviously more just regular with it, but stay back in that back leg to provide the power that really was inconsistent before.
Payoff pitch on its way to Kyle Schwarber. And Schwarber is able to lay off after being behind 0-2 in the count to draw his team-leading 59th walk of the year. And a tough one to lay off at that, as we can see on K-Zone 3D. So it gives the Cubs a base runner here with one gone. Part of the evolution of Kyle Schwarber. He's on pace for another 30 home run year. Punch outs are down, walks are up. And here's Addison Russell now with one out and one on.
For John Gant, the most important pitch of any sequence is the first pitch for him. The reason why is you want him to throw strike one, and then his stuff moves so much that will induce hitters to chase off the plate. The other side of that coin is if he falls behind, his stuff is not good enough to play in 2-0 and 3-1 counts.
Ball and no strikes to Addison Russell, who's got just one extra base hit in his last 12 games. Addison's fallen on harder times offensively. 2-0 to him now. Yadi Molina comes to assert himself and call for an infield discussion. Gives us a chance to remind you, great Major League Baseball action coming up on ESPN. Tomorrow night, a doubleheader. Phillies and Red Sox at 7 Eastern. Aaron Nola and David Price on the mound. That'll be followed by the Brewers and Dodgers out in Los Angeles. Tuesday, Major League Baseball, the Phillies and Red Sox once again. Jake Arrieta and Drew Pomeranz, and then Jessica, Buster, Alex, and I will be.
I called
you Jester, or maybe I called Buster Jester. I did.
Come on.
It's going to become a meme before long. Next Sunday, we're in Boston for the Yankees and Red Sox. 2-0 to Russell, misses outside, and suddenly Gant is having a hard time commanding the strike zone. That's 6 straight balls.
Well, that's tough too, because the miss, as we showed 3DKs on a Schwarber, was actually close to being a strike, and you could see he was frustrated and not able to kind of regroup and get a strike here.
3-0 to Russell. He's taking all the way.
If you're Joe Madden, I really like Schwarber running here on this 3-1 count. You want to stay away from the double play. Gant is a ground ball pitcher, so 3-1, get Schwarber moving a little bit.
3 balls and a strike to Addison Russell. Schwarber stays put, and Russell takes ball 4. So back-to-back walks after the strikeout. And here might be an occasion when a manager decides to bat his pitcher 8th that he might want a do-over. No such do-over afforded. It is Kyle Hendricks batting now, and the number 9 hitter David Bote waits on deck. Hendricks in a bunt position here with runners aboard and 1 gone. A ball and no strikes.
Although I would argue having him in the 8-hole to be able to lay down a bunt with 1 out versus if Bote was up 8th, even though it's a scoring opportunity, Hendricks gets up with 2 outs, then you're done for the inning.
You could certainly make that case. Pending Hendricks' ability to get down the sacrifice.
If you're Joe Maddon, why not let Hendricks force Gant to throw a strike or 2? If you gift an out, there's already 1 out. You give Gant an opportunity to build momentum and build some rhythm.
Watch how hard you're going to see Carpenter and Jerko charge on this. And this is where even the bunt, exactly, you want to, and I like that move there. And I know it's not execution, but just to put in their heads, look, but guys, I know this is an obvious to everyone bunt opportunity, but you saw Carpenter sprinting in, Jerko right in his grill. Even he gets the bunt down, they're going 3. They're going 2. They're getting an out, if not 2. So at least they're pulling it back and saying, guys, get on your heels a little bit.
See if they put the bunt play back on. The Cubs have the 3rd most sacked bunts in the National League this year. Here come the corners again. And again, Hendricks swinging away, swings through at that time. Now he's down 1-2.
Alex, when you played third base, would you try to get in ahead of the hitters in situations like this sometimes with your movement at third base coming in?
100%, and especially if a guy did not handle the bat very well. I think what you see here is more of an intimidation. And as a hitter, you have to dent the ball so much that you get exactly what happens. You take Kyle Hendricks out of his comfort zone, and he's swinging and not looking good doing it.
They keep the bunt on with 2 strikes, and Hendricks strikes out. Boy, that thing just kind of got blown up right from the very start. ESPN Technologies built for baseball, brought to you by T-Mobile using our front row camera. The foul bunt with 2 strikes and the strikeout recorded for Gant. So 2 gone now for David Bote, the 3rd baseman, who is filling time, if you will, for the injured Chris Bryant on the DL with a shoulder injury, the extent of which I think is still unclear as Bote takes a pitch inside. Buster, you spent some time talking about this earlier today on Baseball Tonight, the fact that when Chris Bryant returns, nobody's really clear which version of the former MVP will be on the field.
Right. He's been on the disabled list twice. He's had 2 cortisone shots. And in our conversation with Joe Maddon, it's clear this is a situation that needs to be managed going forward. He's going to have some time off, and we'll see if he gets all the power back or some of the power back. It's unclear, as you said.
Well, we do know this for Chris Bryant as Bote swings and misses. He is missing his 29th game of the season tonight, and that equals the combined number of games that he missed over his first 3 major league seasons. He's been a really reliable player for Joe Maddon. Outfield, third base, middle of the lineup, and is a big absence currently.
Well, and I think, Matt, even when they do get him back, you know, it's not going to be an everyday type situation. I felt like Joe Maddon alluded to the fact that, I mean, because he's such a big bat and a big need for this team, and they have so much depth, and you know that they need him more importantly in the postseason headed down the back stretch, that I wouldn't be surprised that when he does return, that if he's not in the lineup every day.
2 balls and a strike to count to David Bote. Schwarber and Russell aboard with 2 gone in a 2-1 St. Louis lead early tonight. Well, I think a lot of people have attributed the Cubs' recent woes, and they've lost 4 of 6, strictly to the absence of Chris Bryant. That is not really a fair assessment because their lineup has been in pretty good shape even without him. It's the starting pitching staff that has given the Cubs the most concern at this point in the season. Three balls and a strike to count to David Bote. And a called strike to make it 3-2.
This is a nice pitch because of the location of where it starts and then comes back over the plate. And you'll see Molina had even set up a way, that two-seamer off the plate. And as you see there, runs right back over for a strike.
Chance for Gant to strand the 2 walks here with 2 gone. On the ground to the left side. Jerko's up with it to retire the side. Couple of walks, but no damage. After an inning and a half, still 2-1 Cardinals.
It's always a sunny day when Christopher Robin comes to play.
Hello, everyone.
You're here. Oh, bother. Somebody seems to have eaten all the honey.
Silly old bear.
Disney's Christopher Robin, Friday, rated PG.
So you'll be here to help if I need you?
I got you.
What about here?
Yep.
Here?
Yes, Kyle.
And here's Sir Robert from State Farm.
If you invite me.
Go with the one that's here to help life go right. State Farm.
Amen. Let's play ball.
Oh, he pops it into center field. Could be trouble.
Hey, Seawalker, go, 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 go.
However you play ball, play ball. Go to playball.org to find out more.
Want more stats? Hey Siri, who's leading MLB in home runs?
JD Martinez of the Red Sox is the answer that Siri produces with 32, and he and the Red Sox opening up a big series with the Phillies starting tomorrow night on ESPN. Chris Davis of the Oakland A's hit his 28th in Denver this afternoon in a loss. Boy, the A's had so much momentum prior to being swept over the weekend by the red-hot Colorado Rockies, very much a part of the intriguing National League wildcard picture.
In the West. I mean, the A's and the run that they've been on competing with the Mariners for that wild card, the Rockies coming back into the picture, the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers. I'm telling you, AL/NL West is going to be fun coming down the stretch.
Dexter Fowler leads things off in the St. Louis half of the second. Bottom third of the order for the Cardinals. Fowler, Munoz, and John Gant. Well, Dexter Fowler with better results of late as he lifts a little fly ball out to shallow right center for Hayward, who's patrolling center field tonight. Of course, Dexter Fowler was in the news a lot around here before and after the dismissal of Mike Matheny. And there was a thought that perhaps a veteran player like Fowler, who was not off to a good start this season, might take off given a different clubhouse environment. John Mozeliak making the difficult choice, letting go a tenured manager in Mike Matheny, who had a lot of skin in the game here in these parts and who still cultivates a lot of respect. Here's Munoz now with one away.
For the Cubs, with the acquisition of Cole Hamels this week by Theo Epstein, this guy on the mound, Kyle Hendricks, becomes the most valuable member of this 25-man roster. The reason why, if the postseason started today, he will be pitching game 2 sandwiched between the two left-handers, John Lester and Cole Hamels. It is imperative, if the Cubs want to get back to the World Series like in 2016, this guy, this Dartmouth graduate, has come up and pitched in a big way.
2 balls and a strike to Jairo Munoz. Well, the fact remains, Alex, and you bring up an interesting point, that the Cubs are so left-handed in their rotation now with the acquisition of Hamels. The Cubs have never had a rotation with 4 left-handed starters making as many as 7 starts in a year. As Munoz rings an extra base hit into the left field corner. Hey, Jairo Munoz has been really good at the bottom of this Cardinals lineup of late.
You'll see another flat changeup right down the middle on a 2-1 count. And Munoz is all over it. All over it. And Hendricks is not fooling anyone with his secondary pitches.
But that changeup has been his swing and miss pitch. I mean, he doesn't get a ton of swing and misses, but when he's going right, that pitch does not only not get hit, but it gets missed because that's the pitch he'll throw off of his fastball. And the difference that Joe Maddon has said, where he can tell Hendricks is struggling, not only the amount of pitches he's throwing, more pitches, but his best pitch, what he's known for, is his changeup is getting hit.
Munoz at second with 1 gone for the pitcher John Gant, who lays off to make it a 1-1 count. And Alex, I just want to button up your point on the rotation of the Cubs and the left-handed heaviness of it. We talked to Joe Maddon about that before the game. And Joe, as you might guess, kind of downplayed how left-handed heavy they were and said, well, look at the left-handers we're talking about here. And he makes a great point. If you had been told a few years ago that Cole Hamels and John Lester would at one point soon occupy the same rotation, you'd be polishing off the Commissioner's Trophy. It's a pretty good left-handed rotation, in other words.
Yes. Well, and it's interesting because it's just more unique, and that's why more people are making the point.
On the ground for Russell, and there's 2 away with Munoz getting to third on that ground ball to the left side. Here are the names. Mike Montgomery is the guy with the least amount of service time, but he's been very good in spot start capacity. Quintana got knocked around yesterday. Lester, Hamels, and Hendricks, and it kind of brings you back to the absence of the one big right-hander that they spent big money on to kind of solidify the whole animal, and that's Yu Darvish, who is still unable to contribute.
Yu Darvish has been an enormous disappointment for the Chicago Cubs. And when you expect a guy to go out and throw 200 innings and lead the way and help John Lester, it's disappointing. But going back to that 4-man left-handed, if I'm facing them and you have a right-handed, you're going to get lineups that are going to be stacked right-handed. Well, if you play the counter of that and you're Theo Epstein and Jed Hoyer, the general manager of the Cubs, you have to think, you already have Steve Cishek in the bullpen. You may think about going out and getting a guy like Darren O'Day, because at some point, those left-handers are coming off the game, and boy, it would be a nice luxury to have very tough sidewinders coming from the right side.
Cubs bullpen has been a real strength this year. In fact, you take a look at the pitching strengths and weaknesses of the Cubs and Cardinals, and they're a mirror image of one another. Cardinals' rotation's been great. Bullpen has been troubled. The opposite true in Chicago. 0-2 the count to Matt Carpenter, and Hendricks gets him on 3 pitches. A runner left stranded in the second. Still 2-1 St. Louis.
Some believe if it's not German, it's not luxury performance. So we brought these Infiniti SUVs to Germany with American families to drive them.
This truck is only for German luxury auto, not for family or SUV.
VC Turbo. It's like 2 engines in one. How did Germany not do that first?
The Infiniti family of SUVs. There's nothing traditional about it. Lease the Infiniti QX50 for $399 a month at the Start Your Own Legacy summer sales event. Infiniti. Empower the drive.
Discover Tic Tac Gum. Great taste. Very refreshing. Long-lasting flavor.
New Tic Tac Gum. A playful, refreshing moment to share. Chew and play.
Okay, Kevin, USAA Bank is here to help you stay on track. Budget's looking good.
Clear for a fill-up? Card? Thank you. We are a go on the beef jerky. You know what? We might some hydration, too. Hey, see?
USAA Bank helps you take charge of your everyday spending, so you can stay a step ahead.
Let's rock and roll!
Find help at every turn with USAA Bank.
According to the government, we do not exist. We're ghosts, but we're very real. We live in a new world. There are some very evil people out there. People sleep peacefully because rough men stand ready to do violence on their behalf. If we fail, there is no backup plan. We are Overwatch. But we get things done.
Mile 22, August 17th.
To the third in St. Louis after a rain delay of about an hour and a half prevented this one from starting in a timely manner. It's a 2-1 Cardinals lead through two. Back with Alex Rodriguez, Jessica Mendoza, and Buster Olney. Matt Vasgersian, top of the order for Chicago. It'll be Anthony Rizzo, Ben Zobrist, and Jason Hayward against the right-hander John Gant. Rizzo lined hard to right in his first try tonight. Coming off a pretty noteworthy week. And for Anthony Rizzo, who is the last remaining player in Chicago who can remember the back-to-back 100 lost seasons, that was the last of the rough waters before the World Series glory of 2016. Over 1,000 games on his big league baseball card. Shot out to center field, chasing Pham, running out of room quickly, and it's gone. Number 15 for Anthony Rizzo. Number 180 in his Cubs career.
Rizzo coming out swinging on this breaking ball right here. You see it hang. Beautiful pitch to hit. You see it the whole way. Rizzo gets down through it. Great leverage. Look at the back knee go down to the ground, and the ball explodes up. That ball had tremendous carry. Again.
Oh, barely.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought Pham had a chance too. When he was going back, I think he did as well. And you're right, Alex. It just kind of kept carrying. Pham going back, he reaches. Oh.
Hey, fence scrapers count.
Indeed.
0-1 the count to Ben Zobrist. A shot back up the box and a base hit. Couple of hard hit balls against Gant start the third. We mentioned Anthony Rizzo having a big week. Let's take a look at who's flipping the switch. Brought to you by Boost Mobile. It is Anthony Rizzo. Got a little work in on the mound on Monday against the Diamondbacks. Ninth inning, 2 gone, and he flied out A.J. Pollock for the final out of the inning. And then what he's paid to do Thursday against the Diamondbacks, a walk-off home run, the longest home run hit by a Cub this year, out to Sheffield Ave. Saw him hit that one a long way, and then one just long enough.
How about that pitch? I mean, that was like 70% speed. Just here's a cookie. What do you got, A.J. Pollock? Maybe 75 miles an hour? I mean, that was hilarious.
And I hate to be the wet blanket here, but if you're a Chicago Cubs fan and you have Anthony Rizzo, you already have your big horse, Chris Bryant, hurt. It just is a cringing moment to see your best player, one of your best players, going out there and pitching.
Which is probably why he went 70%. I think he promised Joe Maddon that if you give me a chance to pitch, I'm not even going to...
It's not going to blow out.
No.
It almost looked like, was it Steve Hamilton, Buster, that used to throw the Folly floater?
I know. Chester's saying 75 was like that fast. It looked like it was like 60. I've seen him throw harder practicing pitching with teammates joking around before games.
Jason Hayward with a shot out to center that almost carried over Pham. Tommy's got it for the first out of the inning. Already 3 home runs tonight on Sunday Night Baseball, presented by Taco Bell. Brought to you by USAA, insurance, banking, and investments tailored for the military community.
Yeah, and if you're a young high school player out there, I mean, there is no, or Little League, there is no better player in baseball to watch than Anthony Rizzo. I mean, this guy is the total package. He plays defense. He hits for power. He wants to be in the lineup every day. He posts every day. He's a big player in October. And double play ball.
Hold that thought. Taylor made. Boy, Javi Baez has swung at 2 pitches and recorded 3 outs tonight. We'll talk a little bit more about Anthony Rizzo as we continue, but after a quick timeout, Alex's conversation with Matt Carpenter as Sunday Night Baseball continues from St. Louis next.
The sauce. Come back.
Whatever you're getting ready for, come into Supercuts. We pay attention to every detail and then finish with our signature hot towel, so you feel clean, sharp, and not just ready, but super ready. Check in online today.
Like the pine trees lining the winding road, I've got a name, I've got a name, and I carry it with me like my daddy did, but I'm living the dream that he kept here, moving me down the highway, moving ahead.
Those who live up to their names make one for themselves. Goodyear, more driven.
New York is paying me, Fenway Park, a visit. It's like a clash for the AL East between superheroes. So Bronx Bombers, Mookie, JD, and I say, bring it. Yankees Red Sox next Sunday at 8 on ESPN.
A 2-2 ball game here in St. Louis, and when we went on the air a little while ago, we talked about both leadoff hitters, Anthony Rizzo and Matt Carpenter, kind of carrying their lineups to date. Alex had a chance to visit with one of them, and he asked the Cardinals leadoff hitter about some of his secrets at this point in the season.
I understand you're a little bit of a gardener.
I brought some sauce
sauce
too.
I can't wait to taste it. Tell us what's the magic behind the sauce.
So, funny story, my teammate Adam Wainwright is a huge gardener, and you know, I've constantly talked to him about the gardening process, and I've had interest in it. I wanted to get involved. Well, early on in May, when I went on the road, Adam came secretly to my house, planted a garden in the backyard.
Wow.
And I'm a big salsa guy. I've been making salsa fresh out of it, and it just so happened to coincide as I started to get hot, was right when I started making this salsa, and I actually took a jar of it on the road to Chicago for the first time. First time I'd taken it on the road, and it happened to be the series where I had, you know, a lot of success. And I got to give a lot of credit to the salsa. We got the shirts here. It's all about the salsa.
Take me to when you were 23 years old, fifth-year senior at TCU, 13-round draft pick, $1,000 signing bonus. What were you thinking then, and did you think that you can be a big leaguer now?
Oh, man. I'll tell you what, and when I walked off the field, my last game at TCU, I'll never forget it. We were in the Super Regionals playing the University of Texas. And when that game ended, I thought I just played baseball for the last time. Honest to God, I really thought that was the last time I'd ever put a jersey on. And thankfully enough, the St. Louis Cardinals drafted me.
Show me in slow motion kind of your mechanics. You hit 6 home runs in 6 consecutive days. Show me the feeling in slow motion, what that looks like.
For me, you know, I'm a big rhythm guy. You know, as you guys have seen my swing, I mean, I'm kind of a guy who, you know, starts kind of with his, you know, chest out and back's kind of bent. And for me, all that is a part of the timing and rhythm process. And I want to feel myself as I load, my hands kind of get into this position. And from this position, I can do the thing that's always given me my best strength as a hitter, and that's being able to recognize balls and strikes. when I'm really going well, I can get in this position and I can recognize, almost right out of the hand, whether this ball is going to be something I can swing at or whether it's going to be something I need to take. And then from that point, if I'm landing in this position and in a good spot to launch my swing, I don't have to think of anything else after that. I can just see where the pitch is and take my barrel right to it.
Boy, good stuff from Matt Carpenter today. I had the sense watching that you guys could have gone on and on and on down there in the cage today in the rain.
Just a terrific guy, you know, an old school guy that doesn't use batting gloves, playing a young man's game, and just a blue chip hallmark Cardinals player, and that's how they used to make him. And he's a guy he's an easy guy to cheer for. He's articulate. He understands the game. He respects the game. I could have sat there and talked to him all day.
By the way, the little nugget that was unearthed there of Adam Wainwright breaking into his yard
to build a garden
and secretly planting a garden.
You secretly plant like an entire tomatoes. They got jalapenos.
I mean, we heard the story about the garden and the salsa, but we didn't know that Adam Wainwright was the guy that did it, clandestine style in the heart of the night.
A little Martha Stewart for sure.
And a swing and a miss by Yadi Molina. What's the motivation behind our Sunday Night Baseball cartoon tonight? Every good team, every once in a while, has like the gardener story. Remember when John Franco planted the tomato plants at Shea Stadium?
Indeed.
And guys, the salsa's legit. Like, I'm a salsa snob. It's got spice. I mean, he makes a good salsa.
Here's Paul DeYoung now with one away.
Like, you can't play baseball and make good salsa.
Now, let me tell you this. Matt, she says it's on fire. She's gone through this whole thing. She has not shared
I'm
one
Mexican.
bit with us.
They put salsa in front of me, and this has been my dinner. This is literally...
Don't think that's for TV, folks. She's not lying.
Matt, well done.
0-2 the count to Paul DeYoung. DeYoung line to left in his first at-bat tonight.
If you can have a comeback player of the year in the same year, Matt Carpenter will win that award by a landslide.
What was he hitting, like 143 heading into the middle of May? I mean,
Major league worst, 143.
Like, it got to where you were wondering how he was consistently in the lineup, and honestly, not playing good defense just didn't look right. And honestly, not playing good defense just didn't look right. Since that May 15th, May 16th transition, where he had a few games off, got to rest a little bit. I mean, that's drastic. You're talking about a 200-point difference in batting average, OPS just through the roof. And especially to this Cubs team, 8 home runs.
You know, I think some of the credit there needs to go to the former manager, Mike Matheny. And I think it's easy for a fan base or for a team to pile on a guy when he loses his job, but it was Mike Matheny who decided to get Carpenter off his feet for 3 days and get him right. And by the way, nobody has more respect for the former Cardinal skipper than the current guy, Mike Shildt, who was quick to point that out to us as soon as he took the job. And a swing and a miss by DeYoung for out number 2. 4 strikeouts for Kyle Hendricks early tonight. Hey, a quick reminder, tomorrow at 8:10 Eastern, you can catch this one on ESPN+. The Indians and Twins open their 3-game series at Target Field. It's also streaming live on the ESPN app, so start your free trial of ESPN+ now.
The 2 gardeners. But by the way, if you take the first 6 weeks away, and the Cardinals, I did predict that the Cardinals could sneak in to the postseason. You have to begin to put Matt Carpenter in the MVP conversation. And if he does get into that conversation, assist Adam Wainwright. He buried the lead.
Secret gardener.
Secret gardener.
He's one of about, it seems like 25 or 30 National League players, guys, who if they have a great finish, 2-month finish, you can win the MVP. I think Javi Baez on the Cubs side could be in that conversation.
Paul
Freddie Freeman of the Braves. It is totally wide open for somebody to grab this.
A 1-2 count to Marcell Ozuna.
It was such a pleasure to spend time with Matt Carpenter. I mean, here's a guy that absolutely is in love with the game of baseball. He can't stop talking. He loves it. And Carlos Beltran, who was his teammate and my teammate, said, hey, this guy loves baseball so much, we will go to dinner. He would stand up while our steak was being served, grab the fork, and pretend it was his bat. And he would just say, hey, guys, how do I look here? How do I look?
He's chatting his ear off